What's going on, squad? It's another wonderful day here on A Brodacious Life. My name is Jonathan. I have the famous Dr. J with me here today. What's going on, Dr. J?
What's up in the house over there, Chef? How are you doing today?
Man, I am living the Christmas dream. Isn't my wife an awesome decorator? Look at all this stuff. We
Look,
got all the
she
stuff
is.
going. We got the little chicken peeps going. I can't complain one bit.
Your house looks so festive, man. I just want to come over there by your TV fire and cuddle up. You want to cuddle?
I have a
Can we
fireplace
cuddle?
behind me, but I want to burn my butt.
I love it, man.
Yeah, that'll be an extra. That's a whole nother extra bonus episode.
You talking about us cuddling? Join the Patreon.
Ugh. That's a lot of heat, man. That's a lot of big man love right there.
Oh Lord, we look like a Swiss cake roll.
So today we're talking about gifts for your foodie friend. I'm a chef. I'm really passionate about the little gadgets and gadgets and things that I have, what people should have, and kind of what maybe people should. I just don't think are necessary if you have just minimal skill. And I just want to go through some great ideas to help you promote or help you find that perfect gift for your foodie friend.
Yeah, absolutely. I can I get started because I'm going to be I'm not a chef, so I'm like the common man deal. Can I go ahead and give you my first one?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, this may make me sound like I'm losing my man card, but every man secretly needs to have this at his brodacious house. So a saucepan and butter warmer, like a saucepan
Oh
and
yeah.
butter warmer. And here's the reason why. Most dudes, when they're they're cooking their butter, which by the way, go listen to the series Ask a Chef, because I learned this from Frosty Banks on there when you and him were chatting, that you need to use unsalted butter, not salted
Yes.
butter, so that the flavor of the food pops out, not the salt in the butter. But anyways, when you're making it in this saucepan, it makes it so you can keep it separated and then pour it on just exactly as you need it, because you want clear, warm butter. You don't want the grime. Like, you don't want to throw it into the corner of your cast iron frying pan and then it take on whatever flavor for you mix it into something else. Like a nice saucepan butter warmer, I think, for if you're a true foodie. Now, if you're just Tom, Dick, or Harry, I don't know, but a true foodie needs a saucepan and butter warmer. Brodacious people, don't tell folks, but I got a butter warmer.
Got a butter warmer.
Butter warmer.
So the first one I'm going to go into is a chef's knife. And I brought this one here not as a good example, but as a bad example of what to get. You know, this is a knife from one of the big box stores. You can see it's got lots of dust on it because nobody uses it. I'm sure my wife or mother-in-law or somebody bought it. But it's, you know, it's just a traditional stainless steel knife. You get these at, you know, your big box store. You need to upgrade your foodie friend's knife. That is the ultimate flex from chef to chef, is what knives that they use. I have a set of Shun and Wusthoffs. Those are my babies. Those are my day-to-day. And then I have some others that I might flex. And I have one that is a $1,500 knife. That's a Majimi. You can find them on Instagram. My favorite knives in the world. Those things are literally pieces of art. There's so much art that I'm terrified to use it because I might drop it. It's also so sharp, I could literally just tip my finger off. But if you're looking for great knives out there, look for the brands Wusthof. That's Wusthof, and a company called Shun, Shun. Wusthof is the German style. Shun is the Japanese style. And they both have just really good knives. They're very durable. I've dropped mine. Occasionally, if you hit that perfect shot, you might break that tip. But if you have a Shun, you can mail it back to Japan. They'll refinish it for you and send it back to you. So that's something that it really makes a difference for me as a chef. I've dropped my knives. I had my last Shun that I bought. I had it in my kitchen for all of 3 hours before somebody took my knife off of my counter that I was working on and needed to open something. They dropped it and they broke the tip off of my brand new $350 knife. Made me want to cry. But all I have to do is mail it back, and they refinished it for me, mailed it back. All I have to do is pay for the shipping and handling, which amounted to just about $15. That's money well spent, just to have my knife refurbished back. I can't have a broken tip knife. I'm a chef. So I sent it out and had it brought back. But knives, I think, are probably one of the top flexes that you can have over as a foodie person, that you can have over another foodie person. Chefs, we're really big on judging other chefs by their knives. If they open up and they have one of these, I'm not taking them seriously
Do y'all sit
at
around in the
all.
kitchen and go, my knife is bigger than your knife?
Uh, uh,
Is
yes.
your knife the
So,
biggest knife?
so I don't like the big. Now I have a couple long knives that are used for like breaking down fish. It's called a. I can't think of the name of it, but I can't. Uh, it's so long. It's made for breaking down fish. It's hooked off. It almost looks like a samurai sword a little bit because it tears off there at the end. And what it's made for is cutting big, giant fillets of fish. So if I'm breaking down things like a whole salmon or grouper, snapper, anything like that, it gives me that extra long blade to cut through. So I do have one of those, but it has a very specific purpose. I do like cutting herbs with it too. That's one of those weird things because it's that angle. You just kind of, and it all just kind of works really well. But chefs really do flex on each other with their knives. I had a chef in my test kitchen the other day that was he comes from a Michelin star background. He's worked for restaurants like John Besh's, and I just I wanted him to take me seriously. So I didn't really use it, but I definitely had it on the counter, and I know it got his eye because he looked at it and he touched it. So I knew it caught his eye. It was a great flex. He wanted to hold that knife. I could sense it the entire time. So I have it there. And again, I didn't use it because I'm terrified of it a little bit. It's such a beautiful piece. It's literally a work of art. When you go on their Instagram page, Majime, Majime knives, you'll see exactly what I mean.
I love that. Look, I'll throw in the next one. Look, every single person out there needs an enameled cast iron Dutch oven. Everybody needs a Dutch oven. Let me tell you, with a Dutch oven, and you need to get cast iron, cast
Yeah.
iron can heat up really, really hot. They make those things in like a clay, but I wouldn't suggest that because with a cast iron, not only can you cook inside your house, but you can cook it on the big green egg. Shout out to Yo
Yeah.
Daddy the Grill. You can cook it on the big green egg, but when you go camping, you can take that cast iron Dutch oven, chop you up some potatoes, throw it in there with some butter, and you can just sit it in the fire. Or you can like throw some like chocolate mix, like some cake mix in there when you're camping, stir it up, sit it on there, boom, you got cake. But a Dutch oven will do almost anything, though I highly suggest you get at least 5 quarts or larger for
Yeah.
your family. I don't know if they make a gallon
So,
size because you got a
so
big
a
old
Dutch
family.
oven, for those who don't know, who might not know that terminology, it's a pot basically of cast iron, and it has a lid. And it's very important that it has that cast iron lid because if you're baking or anything like that, you'll actually put coals on top of the lid itself, and that'll help cook anything that's inside. So if you're using it to braise meat, which I'm hoping to do while we're hanging out with Dr. J here for Thanksgiving, we'll actually get some of the coals and things from the fire and put it on top of it, and that'll help cook things through as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Everybody, that's what everybody needs. Everybody needs. What's your next one, Chef?
So I know there's lots of weird kitchen gadgets. I'm not huge on a lot of kitchen gadgets. Like, yes, I have a pasta machine. I'm a hand crank guy because I like to control the pace of the pasta as it goes through. A pasta machine's a great thing for somebody who's really wanting to get into pasta, maybe a little booklet or something to go with it to show them how to make pasta. But one of my favorite gifts that I like to use is a Vesta sous vide machine. So sous vide is a different cooking technique. Basically, we're going to cook under pressure. And basically, I have a vacuum sealer, which is like $30, and I vacuum seal a steak inside of that, and I'll vacuum seal it with roasted garlic, salt, pepper, and rosemary. And basically, I'll vacuum pack it, and all that stuff just kind of gets sucked into the meat. And then I have this. This is a Vesta sous vide machine. Basically, it clips onto the side of the pot or plastic pan, whatever I want to use. And see, inside of here is a little turbo fan. And what it does is it circulates water really fast, and it heats the water up. So basically, I'm going to slow cook something up to a certain temperature. And what's crazy is that, the steak, if you hold it at 135 degrees, it'll never be well done. It'll always just stay 135 degrees, meaning it'll stay medium rare. So what I can do is I can sous vide a steak up to a core temperature of 135 under vacuum pack in that water bath. And then all I have to do is sear the outside edges on a charcoal. So I can put an intense amount of flavor via the vacuum process and slow cook. And then all I'm doing is adding a crust at the end in a cast iron pan, on the grill, or whatever it might be. This is a fun foodie gift. You do kind of have to have the vacuum packer, but you can find those at Walmart. They're not terribly expensive. The only thing that kind of gets expensive about that habit is the little plastic little bags that you have to have the vacuum pack all the stuff in. But I literally use my vacuum sealer all the time. I don't just use it for sous vide. For us, we cook meats and things. We will smoke meats out on the grill or over the fire, and then we'll process that up. Maybe we chop it up or do what we need to do. We'll vacuum pack it and then put it in the freezer. So now I've got ready-made meals. It's a great way to preserve food for the rest of the year.
Look, my next one kind of goes along with that too. You were talking about making pasta, but I want to throw in a pasta machine. So most people are buying their pasta. You want the ultimate flex. Don't buy your pasta from a box, but you can fold that flour down, compact it, get it all down, get it all set, get your pasta ready. And then you take it and you fold it through the pasta machine. And as you crank it, it comes out in homemade linguine noodles. Now, I have to go ahead and tell you, I'm a little bougie, but I like the one from Williams Sonoma the best. I think it's the best one. It's got like 2 rollers that go through it, so you can get it like extra big. And you want the ones that have the rubber feet on the countertop, because if you don't, you got to think when you're cranking the force.
Yeah.
If it's just metal, because the cheap ones from Walmart are just metal, it'll actually slide across the table. You want the rubber so that when it sits on the table and you crank it, the force doesn't cause the machine to move. So don't go cheap on your pasta maker. But yes, a pasta maker.
Pasta is a very simple thing to make. It sounds very complicated, but once you make it a couple of times, it's very simple to make. The other options that you have for that is you can also get a kitchen-made attachment. There is a kitchen-made attachment and just makes it automatic, so you don't have to hand crank it. The problem with that is that if you're not perfect, that thing is just constantly running. That roller is constantly running. So as you run things through there, it could rip the pasta itself. And that can be kind of frustrating a little bit. So that's why it's nice to hand crank it. You control the tempo a little bit, and you really fine tune that pasta. I don't like my pasta to be ripped up. So it means I got to keep putting it back together, running it back through. And that means sometimes there can be a little seam or something like that that's in the pasta that later breaks open whenever you go to boil, especially if you're doing ravioli.
Makes complete sense. All right, cool.
So my next item is kind of another flex thing. I made one myself, and I'm really proud of it. I still got to finish it, but a cutting board. I made this cutting board. How cool is that? How much of a flex is that?
So awesome too. I've
been working on my homesteading skills, but I got a chance to make this board.
It looks sharp too. If you're listening to the podcast, go check out the YouTube channel where you can see this cutting board. I mean, I know people that pay hundreds of dollars for something like that. Like, I'm jealous. You should give that to your big brother. I hear he's a nice guy.
We'll see what he's like around Christmas. So this board right here, there's a brand in particular that I would recommend. Obviously, not everyone is going to make their own board. I happen to have a wood shop here on my homestead. That's kind of where I get to piddle and kind of goof off a little bit. I have all the equipment to make one. I was like, I'm going to flex. I'm going to make myself one. How cool is that? But there's a brand called Boos, Boos. They make the best cutting board. Now, I'm going to put a caveat out here that you need to research your cutting boards and understand how to clean them properly. A lot of people make the mistake of running them through your dishwasher. That is an absolute travesty. It's kind of like washing a cast iron pan. You just don't do it. Yes, it needs to be cleaned. Yes, it needs to be sanitized. Running it through the dishwasher is not the only way to clean something. Back in the old days, we had this thing called soap, and we used our hands, and that's how you would clean it. And then you just get bamboo oil, and then you just kind of wipe it with some clean bamboo oil, and it's clean and it's good to go for the next time.
I'm
You
not
know, but
saying that I use a dishwasher because clearly I would know better. But if I might have used a dishwasher in the past, why would that matter?
so what happens is this is wood, right? Well,
Yes.
wood is a sponge. What happens is that water, especially when it's under pressure and it's heated inside of our dishwashers, it'll cause the wood to expand, and it's going to crack in at the seams. And so what'll happen is I wish I could reach it. I've got actually got a booze board over there that I had a line cook run through the dishwasher, and it's in 4 pieces. It literally snapped in between all the boards. But this is literally 8 boards that are glued together, and basically I just kind of glued them all together and kept running them through the machine. But what can happen is that as I'm adding so much water to it, especially under pressure, under heat in a dishwasher, is that it'll swell the wood and it'll make it crack in between the 2 pieces that are there.
It makes complete sense. Absolutely. I would never wash my board, but if I have, I might stop washing the board based on this conversation. I mean, I knew, but now I really know. Let me throw one out there, kind of on the same thing, but excuse me, a pizza stone. Everybody
Yes.
needs a pizza stone. If you're a griller, you need a pizza stone. I've got one for the big green egg, and the one that I have for the big green egg is actually, it's an Amazon special. It's not a big green egg brand pizza stone, but you can get them on Amazon for about $50, depending on the size of your grill, or you probably could
Yes.
use them in like an oven. But you can heat the grill up with those things to like 450, in some cases, depending on how thick your crust is, 700 degrees. And you can sit that crust directly on this pizza stone, and in about 6 minutes, you have smoky pizza goodness. And it tastes so much better than anything you're going to take out of a box. And at my house, we like those even better than like you can order from a chain. So pizza stone to the max, not expensive. Can you use a pizza stone would it do you any good, chef, if you used it in a like an in-house in-kitchen oven, or does it matter? Or is it really just for grilling?
I would not say no. I actually preheat pans, and then I'll put my pizzas on preheated pans. That kind of gives that crust a little extra crust to it. You know, when you put it in straight from cold onto a cold pan into an oven, a lot of times you get dough or crust that's just not. It just doesn't have that level of texture that I'm looking for. I like a cracker-like texture when it comes to my crust. So I know it'll work because that's kind of what I do. I just kind of do it with a sheet pan.
That's awesome. Well, look,
There's
I think
there's
everybody needs a
also
pizza stone.
there's also pizza ovens that are out there for those of us who don't have a big green egg. There's also they make these propane pizza ovens that can go out on your deck. And I got to cook on one of those a couple of weeks ago, and it was absolutely baller. And I had the perfect crust as if I was cooking in my wood-fired grill back at my old restaurant. We had a wood-fired flatbread oven there, and the pizza dough came out the exact same. It was like lavash, like cracker style, and ours were super thin and it just cooked absolutely perfect in it. And we've done everything from bake a couple pies to baked beans. We've done a couple different things inside of those ovens, kind of tampering with it, and those are great options as well. I think Academy Sports has some right now. You can obviously find some on Amazon. We'll leave an Amazon link down below. And basically, with that, you'll be able to, you can go in and they're very accessible to have. And we're talking $250 to $350, which is a good amount, but it's not an absolute deal breaker. Smokers nowadays are costing upwards of $1,200. So a $350 pizza oven doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So what's your next one?
Well, I give you one more, I guess, and that's if I was going to give you one more. I mean, you kind of mentioned a lot of mine, but I would say it's so funny that most of the things that I mentioned have to do with grilling. I would probably say like a cast iron grill top to sit on top of your stove. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like the grill top.
Yes.
And the reason being, it's like a flat cast iron thing that you can sit on and then
That's a good
grill,
one.
and then like you can cook bacon on it and the juices can come out. And the reason being, sometimes for me, it's raining outside and I want something good. I can't get the smoky flavor because the big green egg's not going to work inside, but I can go throw something on top of the cast iron griddle top on top of the stove and I can make anything. And with that, a cast iron bacon press, because bacon press is good. Though, pro tip for those that don't know, if you want the best bacon, you should put bacon in an oven, not bacon on top of a cast iron.
Exactly. The only time that I put bacon in a pan or on a top is when I'm wanting to season it for the next item. So if I'm cooking hamburgers out on my Blackstone blacktop out here, I'm going to cook bacon first, and I'm going to use that grease to cook my burger patty. So I'm building flavor in that way. But if you're just doing like breakfast straight up, yeah, I'm not washing that pan. I'm putting it down in the oven in a little tray, letting it cook in there. And it's just a whole lot easier to deal with. As also, it cooks it evenly, so you don't have like certain parts that are chewy and some parts that are overly crispy. We have our local butcher shop here smokes skin on bacon, thick slab. So it's like a 10 to 14 count per pound. And it's almost like having cuts of pork belly, like smoked straight up pork belly, which is what bacon is. But you don't think of it that way until it's like really thick cut. And they have the skin on. So it's like super crispy. And so that outside edge is almost like its own little crackling. So you just get like all of these textures. Well, that doesn't cook and translate as well over into a flat top. It really does best in the oven.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Look, I shouldn't admit it, but if I were gonna be honest, chef, when I cook bacon in the mornings, most of the time I put my bacon in the air fryer.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's probably healthier.
It comes out nice and crispy and all that good stuff. It just feels so good. So
See, I'm
yeah.
weird about bacon texture. I
Do
don't like mine super crispy.
do
I
you have
like mine having a steaky texture.
do you have another gift that you think is good or for a foodie?
Yeah. So this next one kind of correlates together. The first one I'm going to say is an iPad, and you don't have to have the latest, the greatest. To be honest, I love Apple. I'm an Apple fiend. I'm holding an iPad, recording on an iPhone while a MacBook is in front of me. And I love Apple, but to be completely honest with you, there's not really been that much updates in the last 2 or 3 iPads and iPhones for that matter. So something like an iPad, and why I say that is I consume a lot of media. I can sit this over on top of the tabletop in front of me while I cook, and I can look at recipes and do different stuff. I also got a pencil here so I can write down my own recipes. I have a little format that I use in my notes that already has. Basically, I can write down my recipes in it, and I really enjoy that. I like being able to consume media this way. It's just easier for me. I can download 50 books in here, and I can take it with airport in the car while I'm doing a ride along. I can do so much with this versus 100 books. So that's just kind of something that I always kind of throw out there. I love my iPad. This is an iPad mini. I think the 2021 version. It's not the newest, latest, and greatest, but which was great because that meant I got basically $300, $400 off on this one. And it literally is the exact same iPad. They just tampered with the screen a little bit, but it's the same exact iPad, same exact memory, everything else. It's got the M1 chip in it. It's the first year that they put the M1 chip in it. So I love an iPad. It's a weird thing to kind of put in a foodie group. I recognize that, but it is a way that I feel is the best way to consume media and lessons and look through recipes and watch YouTube videos while you cook. That's a great flex. And then my next thing kind of going along with that is books. I get a lot of asks about what books should I get for my son who's a culinary student, or my friend, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my spouse. They're really into cooking. What books should I get? And I got some good recommendations. And some of these are basic books, and I have one that is kind of like an autobiography. And so I'll kind of start with that one because it's not necessarily a cookbook per se, but it's from one of my favorite authors. If you don't mind a little bit of language, because again, it talks like a chef. He is a chef. May he rest in peace. Anthony Bourdain's books are an absolute winner. So this one's The Nasty Bits. I have the No Reservations book. I have every single one of his books, and I've read all of them. I go back and reread them every year. I love his books, how in detail he is about the experience. When you read his books, it is literally as if he is talking to you. You can hear his voice. And for those of you who don't remember Anthony Bourdain, he had he had the show Parts Unknown that was on CNN. He had The Layover on the Travel Channel, and he had episode that had like 20 seasons called No Reservations that was on the Food Network as well. Not Food Network, Travel Channel. He hated the Food Network. But he's just a fun author. He tells it how it is, his experiences with the Food Network when he was originally slated to be on there, and it's very interesting. I don't want to dive into it too much because the experience is amazing when you read his book. The next thing is there's lots of great cookbooks that are out there. It's really hard to recommend just one, so I kind of brought 4 that I go through. So the first one is the Escoffier cookbook. What's cool about this book is, other than the other cookbooks, Auguste Escoffier was a French chef in the early 1900s. He was what we would consider kind of like our, I hate to say like our Jesus, but he was kind of the first one to make it a profession. He's the first one who really started writing down recipes. He paid his employees. They had like health insurance type stuff. He was the first one who really made it a profession and made it something that was honorary to be a chef. He was, before there was Gordon Ramsay and all these guys who kind of make it cool now, they all have to tip their heads to Auguste Escoffier. And his book, this is his first book that came out. What I like about it is that it doesn't necessarily in this book have exactly recipes. So I'm going to open up a book. What it does is it tells you what was in the plate. So for the chef, that means that I can kind of do my own little twists on things using his ideas. My senior practicum when I was in culinary school in 2008 was basically, we took this book, we did 20 courses that were utilizing this book, but of course it doesn't have any recipes. So we're able to do modern twists and turns on all of this stuff. So I'll give you an example. Tournedos sous vide. Grill the tournedos and arrange them in the form of a crown. Serve with a light sous vide puree sauce. Well, I got to look up sous vide. My sous vide is going to be different than a Escoffier sous vide. The potatoes. How am I going to cook the potatoes? Am I going to use a Dauphine potatoes? Am I going to use a tournedo potatoes? What am I going to use? And that gives that interpretation that kind of lets me flex and be out of my, it gets me out of my comfort zone, which is really good. Foodie people and chefs, we like to be outside of our comfort zone. It's what makes it fun, is to do something different. So it's a great book to really dive into. The next one is Robuchon. And I've enjoyed this one as well. This is not one that is, I have 2 other books here. This was probably my 3rd favorite, but it's just a great cookbook. It has the recipes in there, it has pictures. It's a classic French cooking book, and it's a great book to have. So 3rd is a textbook. And this is actually the textbook that the Art Institutes use. I believe at one point in time, the Culinary Institute of America was using Le Cordon Bleu. It's a book called On Cooking. And you can find this in Amazon. You can find it on, I think, at some Barnes and Nobles, but it's really in-depth on how to do everything from how to make every mother sauce, how to properly grill. It goes into how to butcher down meat. It goes from everything from across the board. It is a wide spectrum textbook. This is the first year student's textbook, and it goes everywhere. And it teaches you the basics. And good cooking comes down to the basics. Can you make a proper stock? Can you, from that good stock, can you make a basic mother sauce? Which, if you don't know, all sauces in the French repertoire are made of 5 sauces. They're called the mother sauce. And I won't bore you with all that terminology, but it teaches you how to make all 5 of those mother sauces. And if you can make the mother sauce, you can make any one of its derivatives. So it's important book to have. Got 2 books left. So the next one is a book called Moto. It's by Hamaro Cantu, and it is a molecular gastronomy book. This book goes really weird. It's out of the box. It's the kind of cuisine that has like the foams with the clear, like glass clear meringues. It's the really cool stuff that you see in the ultra modern restaurants from like Nebu and Alinea and all those groups. This is kind of a cookbook that's from there. There's lots of other cookbooks that are out there that deal with this, but they're also super expensive. Like the El Bui books are, I mean, they're hundreds of dollars. Yes, they are really in depth. They break everything down for you, but it's really hard to get somebody to spend hundreds of dollars on a set of cookbooks because you buy it by the set. You don't buy it by the individual book because they're selling you concepts. So that's really important. But this is a great book. It just kind of has all kinds of cool stuff in it. I go through this sometimes and I just reimagine cuisine and how I go through about food and how I plate up. It's just really cool ideas in there. And then the last book that I have is kind of like my culinary Bible a little bit. I use this book the most. And it was a $75 book. I got it on Amazon, and it has literally changed my gameplay. So this book called the Encyclopedia of Cajun and Creole Cuisine. I'm here in Mississippi, so we deal a lot with Cajun and Creole. I'm not from this area, though I dare to say that nobody can really tell from my food. I cook really good Cajun and Creole cuisine. I cook like I'm a native here. And I give a lot of that credit to this book. And this book, it has a lot of the other things like it does in the On Cooking book, but it also gives the specific history of the South, in particular, this region of the South. And, if you don't know, for just a quick, and I'll kind of give you a quick summary of it, is that, the South, particularly here in Mississippi and Louisiana, messed up in this area. Obviously it went all the way up till recent. It's just bad histories happen here. The French dropped off they basically took all their leftovers and basically in their prisons, and they just dumped them off. Then you have the mix of the royalties and everything who ruled over them, along with slavery and all these different things that happen here. It's messed up history. But what's happened is throughout history, we've developed, I believe, the best cuisine in America. Mississippi, Louisiana, and I kind of give Alabama and East Texas credit. Some of the best food that you're going to have in the country comes from this region, and it doesn't get the love that it deserves. And this book really deep dives into a lot of that stuff. And it has a lot of there's lots of different squashes and okras and things that are unique here that you can find across, that you might be able to find in Africa, but you don't necessarily find them in the United States as a widespread variety. So that's, again, it's something that's very unique to our region, and it just makes it very cool. So this right here, this is an ultimate foodie thing for me. This is a big book. There is hundreds of recipes in here. It gives you the backstories to these recipes and chefs and important figures and how we got this to this point in our culinary history here in the South, and just a great book to have. Dr. J, you got anything you want to add?
Nope, you said it all. You know the culinary books much more than I do.
I could probably talk for 45 minutes on these books, but I was trying to keep it brief as I could. Well, I think those are just great ideas for your foodie or chef friend. I know sometimes those can be a very difficult people to buy for, just because they're very, I don't want to say the word bougie, but I'm kind of bougie about my stuff. The one thing that I spend lots of money on is chef shoes, chef knife, and then any of my little gadgets that are around me. I'm really big on having the right tools around me to get the best job done.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't particularly have chef shoes per se. I use tennis shoes because, I'm just an at-home chef. But yeah, absolutely. I think this has been a great episode. I've got a lot of stuff. I'm going to talk to the wife about maybe adding to my Christmas list. So since I'm a foodie, I'm all about it. Appreciate your insight, Chef. I hope people will go like and subscribe to our show on whatever platform that you are listening to today. Check out our website, check out our YouTube, because I hear recently somebody was on the Big Green Egg cooking, did a little diss to the chef. I'm curious when the chef's going to do a little reply back here. Is it
We're gonna
coming?
Oh yeah, there's going to be a reply back. I'm going to handle it while we're out there for Thanksgiving. I got 2 butts sitting out there. They're already marinating up. You don't worry about that. It's going to get taken care of.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Well, all right. You have a fantastic day, and we're going to catch you next time on A Brodacious